Coach baseball and basketball. Don't get me started.
No. And Eric is from Virginia. Williamsburg. So that's it. There was a, so we just said pick the date. That's it.
I know.
When is this tree's coming down, I guess? Finally.
The which?
Yeah, it should.
What? This tree right here?
Yeah. No, that bush.
Oh, the bush.
Does it look like it's down?
No, I don't think so. But it does look like they need to remove some of it since.
Well, I'll talk to my son. He's the president of the temple.
Oh,
And,
I've not been
Jimmy
happy.
was president of the temple
Rabbi,
too. So
I've not been happy with this whole thing.
well, guess what? They're not either, but there's not a thing anybody can do. We don't have the water. The water's been cut off by the state.
Wow.
It's a problem. It's a problem.
Oh, really?
Well, they don't bring water in from the reservoir. They don't let them just use the water you need because that's a very strict law now about what they can use. So we're not getting the water we used to get. Period. I mean, it's not.
Colorado.
And now we have another bunch of acres out in the back.
So I guess Joyce and Eileen and
We're almost full.
all the
I'm
East
sure.
Coast and West Coast are all linked up now.
We're all set.
Linked up on Zoom.
Very much.
Isn't that nice?
So we had to buy some more. They said to buy it here. So Danny told me the other day.
Remember Mrs. Cockrell? She was going to come. She was going to come to Cheryl, but something, she's not well. So this is it.
Where's your mask?
You already have. You had it.
I did. Yes, I did. Still have the.
You do? You read it?
Twice.
When you're a native after 80 years.
Yeah.
Well, we can't start. We should start. Everybody
Everybody right.
We got 6 months without the start of right. So I'm going to call him. You're going to call me first, right?
Tim Weiner right around the corner. He's got a bench too.
And my daughter, she was with us at the time.
It's hard to say.
Well, we knew where we were.
John here?
Yep.
Remember that one? But he was, he'll be good. He was get here. Trey was coming here.
That's all virtual. Are you still involved with the services?
what it's like. What I see is this celebrating the 50th anniversary. It's he said that
Big audience. A little bit better. I think a lot of during COVID. So nothing to do. Gotta work.
I said, talk about your business.
What's that?
I said, I just want to talk to everyone online. I can't be on
Okay. Have you heard from anybody having difficulty or anything? Because we're getting close to service time. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty light.
Just some things that we remember.
Go 107. Jeez.
They were all filled up over there. They haven't stopped this line yet. So they had since Dad back. He was the first one. And that, and then
Mine?
a couple more that
Covered by the young.
coming up to fill the roads.
That's it.
It's kind of weird. Airports.
In the Jewish cemetery.
I got Al. 2016 is when this death occurred, so maybe 2017.
No, I'm sure that the stone.
Yeah,
Stone was good.
that's when it was wrecked. That's just her. Yeah, Sandy died in 2016. He hasn't died yet.
Diana, it's a good thing this wasn't planned a couple days ago.
I know. I told this day, I said, well, the snow's coming. Who would have thought?
Oh, but I was just praying that the weathermen were right.
I thought it was the first thing that
Yeah. I knew today. How many of us?
Did everyone hear that you were expecting? Or that- okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are on service time. I'd like to remind everyone to please turn off your cell phones for the service.
Leave this on, Jim.
Oh, you can take that off.
Take mine out. I'm done with this.
John, yeah.
Okay. Is that better? Is that better? Yeah, we can hear you. So in Ayel Ayin Yavo Ezri. Ezri Me'im Adonai Oseh Shemayim Va'aretz. Al Yatein Lamot Raglecha Al Yanum Shomrecha. Hinei Lo Yanum V'Lo Yishan Shomer Yisrael. Adonai Shomrecha. Adonai Tzilcha Al Yad Yeminecha. Yomam HaShemesh Lo Yakeka. V'Yareach B'Layla. Adonai Yishmorcha Mikol Ra. Yishmor Et Nafshecha. Adonai Yishmor Tzedcha B'Lecha Me'at Habi Adolam. I will lift up mine eyes unto the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. Behold, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your soul. The Lord will guard your going out and your coming in, from this time forth and forevermore. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu, our God and God of all generations. Thou governest all things with infinite wisdom and mercy, and guidest the destinies of all of humankind. As a parent have you loved us and showered your blessings upon us. Therefore we shall not murmur even when sorrow befalls us, but with humility and unfaltering trust we shall accept your decrees. In joy and in sorrow alike we praise your goodness and acknowledge your justice. We remember that we are but strangers upon earth. Like a shadow our life flees away. Help us, O God, so to walk in your sight, that when the few years of our earthly pilgrimage are ended, we may be ready to meet our end with tranquil mind. To thee we look for comfort and strength. When one of our beloved is taken from us, and the link is broken in the chain of love which binds us together. Though we walk in the valley of the shadow of death, we shall fear no evil, for thou art with us. Praised, O eternal our God, in all your dispensations, and sanctified be your name, now and forevermore. We will say together, Amen. Gareth, who wants to share some words about his brother.
Thank you very much, Rabbi, and I want to thank family and friends for attending today here in person. Of course, with COVID-19, many people couldn't come over, and it was Zoom, so thank everybody who's watching virtually as well. I'm just going to introduce my younger brother, Eric, who has a few words that he wanted to say, but before I do that, I just want to say that about 3 days ago, we had a few inches of snow here, and now it's all cleared up, and it's a beautiful day, typical Colorado weather. And my brother Steve, the oldest brother, is here from Wisconsin. Brother Jeff, the middle brother, is here from Texas, and Eric, the younger brother, is here from Virginia, and I, of course, live here in Denver with my family, and we have some friends here, and I thank everybody for coming. And now I'd like to introduce Eric, who is going to say a few words that the brothers all came up with together, and Eric is the spokesperson here. So, Eric? Thank you, Gareth. Well, hello, and welcome everyone that is here and online. Thank you all for being here today. It has been over 6 months since David died, and I have been thinking a lot about him
not only because he entrusted in me the privilege of taking care of his estate after his death, which I felt honored and humbled to do, but about his life and legacy. Frankly, he may not be happy we are doing what we are doing here today, and I'll be honest, he stated he did not want any sort of memorial, but I think he deserves to be remembered and honored for his life and what he accomplished. So David, forgive me for this. David Howard Weiner was born in Boston, Massachusetts on April 13th, 1958, son to Norman and Diana, younger brother to Stephen at that time. He moved to Denver in 1967 with his other brothers, Jeffrey, Gareth, and myself in tow. He was 9 years older than me, so I do not remember his early years very well. However, looking at the reel-to-reel movies my dad made, he was like all of my other big brothers, alternating between being sweet and kind to irritating as hell. I suspect his adolescent years were typical of boys that age. However, when he was about 17 years old, his life changed dramatically as he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. I was about 8 years old at the time and did not really comprehend what was happening, but knew it was serious and could see how very stressful this was to my parents and brothers as we tried to come to grips with mental illness in our family. Life would never be the same for us, but more importantly for David. With superb help from medical professionals and unwavering support, love, and dedication from mom and dad, he did get better, but it was never easy. I'll be honest, I was terrified of him when I was younger, as I didn't understand his illness at my young age. However, as I got older and took care of patients like him during my medical career, I grew to understand his behavior and actions were always about his illness and nothing else. I always thought to myself, there but for the grace of God go I, as it could have been me that suffered from this terrible disease, or any one of us. I tried to be empathetic and reach out to him as much as I could, but he had such a hard time forming close relationships. He often used his illness as an excuse to avoid new things, but looking back at his life and the nature of schizophrenia, who am I or any of us to judge? I have to admit I have had some regret and guilt that I wish I could have done more for David over the years, and I suspect some of us here feel that same sentiment. But I really truly believe he would forgive us. Despite his illness, he persevered as best as he could. I still am amazed how smart David was and really believe he was the smartest of all the 5 boys. Sorry, Gareth. He returned to college and went on to get a chemistry degree at the University of Colorado. He worked a number of years in my father's pharmacology lab at CU, conducting basic science research, which I know is extremely challenging, and he excelled at it. But his mental illness again interfered with his ability to have relationships, and he moved on. Despite this, he continued to try other things, including working as a volunteer at the University Hospital gift shop for a number of years, where he was well-liked and a valued member of that staff. They really depended on him and were so fond of David. I was happy for him there, as I know he felt appreciated and needed, which is something he was always looking for. He had a very good work ethic that showed there as well. David was a talented artist when he was younger, with artwork that still is hanging in the home he grew up here in Denver, and also in Gareth and Carol's home. And when I visit, I still marvel at his artistry from so long ago. He was also very handy. He loved his condominium and car, put time in updating and maintaining it. He was savvy with electronics. He made himself available to help mom over so many years, with items that needed to be fixed at her home, which we know was quite a bit. Speaking of mom, you were the most important person in David's life by far, and he would not have done as well as he did in his life without your tireless support and unwavering love for him. Your dedication to make sure he had a roof over his head and as normal of a life possible in a world that's not always kind to those with mental illness is something I will always find inspirational, and you should be extremely proud of. He was a great companion for you after Dad's stroke, and more so after his death. I know you had lively discussions and debates about issues of the world, as David was well versed in them. His death has been very hard on you, but I think you should take great comfort in what you did for him, to help him in so many ways over so many years. I know he's looking down with gratitude and appreciation for your resiliency, love, and affection. I know you will miss him greatly. I think what was most remarkable about David is something most of us really didn't know about him. He was a very compassionate and caring person. He was painfully aware of his mental illness and how this impacted him in his life, but he was willing to help others in his own way. He volunteered multiple times to participate in schizophrenia research studies at the university that very likely has led to better therapies and therapeutics for schizophrenics. He was kind to other people, concerned about their well-being. He would frequently text or email me and inquire about how I was doing and how my kids were doing. He donated the majority of his estate, which was not insignificant, to charity. Salvation Army, American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, Easter Seals of Colorado, Father Flanagan's Boys Town, Shriners Hospital for Children, and St. Jude's Children's Hospital in Memphis. He had empathy and felt a need to help those that were vulnerable in our society, as I suspect he felt a kindred spirit with those individuals and wanted to do what he could to help them in their time of need and make their life a little easier. And I think that's a lesson for us all. So David's life is a life we honor and remember. It was not an easy life, and he had many challenges throughout. He often felt he was a loser or his life was worthless, but which was so far from the truth, as he was a good person, a kind person, loving son and brother. I love my brother and thank him for showing me the importance of empathy and understanding. I pray he's at peace now and that he knows how much he will be missed. Thank you.
There's no piece of literature that is used more often in a moment like this than the words of the 23rd Psalm. We all think that the reason that King David wrote it was, or that the reason it's used primarily, is because it says, yes, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. So it mentions death, and therefore it's an appropriate reading for a moment like this. I learned a long time ago, and I think it's especially true now, for you, that when King David wrote these words, he wasn't just writing about someone dying or the challenges that we have when a loved one dies. He was trying to give us advice. And the advice was, you got to walk through the valley. Don't get stuck in the middle of it, as all too often happens with too many people, and especially with difficult situations like this. People sometimes get stuck in that death struggle rather than learning, as Eric has so beautifully told us, about this life that was Kodesh, this life that was holy. I realized that he had mental disease. I knew that from the beginning of my tenure here. I know that. He was always kind to me as well. So I'm going to read the 23rd Psalm in Hebrew. Those of you who know it and want to say it with me in English, we'll do that after the Hebrew. Adonai roi lo echsor, bino deshe yarbitzeni al me menuchot shenaleni. Nashi shovev yancheni b'maglei tzedek laman shemo. Gam ki elech b'geit samavet, lo ira ra ki ata imadi. Shiftecha mishantecha hema yenachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shochen neged sororai. Shanta b'shem enoshi kosi ravaya. Ach tov v'chesed. Yirdafuni kol yamei chayai. Shavti b'beit Adonai la'orech yamin. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Your family, friends, those of us who are here and those who are here on Zoom, which is really in this day and age about the only way we can be together. But more importantly, and I hope that you will take to heart the fact that people are taking that time. And they're here for you. They're here for your sons. Because that is the way we are as human beings when we lose someone. I know what brings us together, but I also know that there's a danger in us coming together now 6 months later. And the danger is that that wound is just beginning now to heal for you, for you. And we don't want to loosen it so much that it has a hard time healing again. And there is a danger in that. But we are here for all the reasons that Eric said, but I think there's another reason. And whether your brother wanted a memorial service or not, it's not for him. This is for you. This is for you to lift up who he was in his highest moments of living. And there were high moments of living. Who he was during those moments and what it is that he passes on as his legacy to the next generation, not just things. His resources he's given away. That's a wonderful thing to do. But it's not his resources that we're here to remember. It's who he was, the kind of human being that he was, the care that he had for all of you. I realize, especially because you're so much younger and because you're 5 guys, I realize it's not always easy for 5 brothers to live together, especially with a mother like your mother, who is gentle and kind. She's my favorite Greek. She knows that. We've talked about that before. Huh? Armenian, oh, excuse me. Martirosian, I mean, I thought that was a Greek name. Armenian, okay, I apologize. But there are reasons that we are here today. First, it's to bury these ashes. And some will say, or they'll think at least, why are we here to bury ashes? It's not a very Jewish custom. And it isn't. I know that. But when ashes are here and a family decides to bury them, it makes that plot of earth Admat Kodeshu, it is sacred ground. No different than when a body is here. And his ashes are buried next to his father. It's something we need to keep in mind. So the first reason we're here is we're here because you as a family, especially you as beloved mother, need to have a time and a place that says, this is the time that we are giving to my son. Second is to make this place sacred by his ashes being here. You know, all too often people will take ashes and they'll scatter them. And the truth is, there's no place then for a family to go. Sometimes people will say, well, I scattered him at his favorite tree. Where, is it that tree or is it that tree? People don't know. So having a place and having his name on a stone will make all the difference in the world for you. Third reason that we're here is because of the sadness that has come to all of you because of his death. This is a tragic moment. Tragic moment because we all didn't have a chance really to say goodbye. It's hard, no matter circumstances. It's tragic because for who he was, he struggled. We know that. We all know that. But yet he lived. Thank you. for sharing all of that with us, because it reminds us of how important his life was, especially to you as his family. We're here to shed our tears with you and for you. This pain will not go away. And you may shed tears for a long time. It's appropriate. But we're here, hopefully, as he would have been, to lift you up and to give you strength. So we come here to support you, all this family, however it is that each of you has come to mourn him. We come here to question the sadnesses of life. We come here because we ask those questions about, is it fair? Was it fair? It's a question you raise. Whether you raised it or not, it's raised. Is it fair that your brother had schizophrenia and you didn't? Or your other brothers didn't? This day and age, because of people like David, we are at least coming to understand and to be somewhat sympathetic with mental illness. When a person has cancer and they say, oh, we've got cancer, we all reach out. When a person says they're schizophrenic or bipolar, I mean, I have it in my family, we're bipolar, people don't reach out, they withdraw. Maybe moments like this help us to reach out all the more when someone is ill, because it is an illness. So we're here to remember who he was in those highest moments. We're here to wonder about the miracle of birth and young people and the mystery of death, because it is a mystery. I must tell you, I think it's important for us to remember that, because people think about their own deaths. And whether we want to admit it or not, we all think about it. And we think differently about it. There are 20 of us here. I would venture to say that the 20 of us here have different points of view about what's going to happen when we die. And I must tell you, and I've said this thousands of times, but it's appropriate. People ask me all the time, Rabbi, what's going to happen to me when I die? And I say, I have two answers for you. First, I don't know, because I have not been there. And secondly, I am not anxious to find out. And while that may seem like laughter appropriate, and it is, it tells us something about what we think. And all of us here may think different things. Which one of you, which one of us is correct? My feeling is that we are all correct, regardless of what it is that we believe. Because if we will live by what it is that we do believe, we'll help to make the world a better place. And even in his darker moments, he tried to make the world a better place. That's who he was. We're also here to remember who he was and to pass that on to the next generations. That's how we give immortality to those that we love. And lastly, and I do believe this, the last task that each of you has is to try to take some aspect of his life and incorporate it into your own. Emulate something he did because he did it. I don't care what that is. And each of you would know best how you can make that connection. And whether it is then to connect with him, or whether it is to say to the next generation, this is what I do because my brother did it. And now his memory is eternal. I believe that. And so we're here for all those reasons. And mostly to remember, as Eric has so beautifully told us, remember the legacy that he's left behind. Because it's not insignificant at all. It's an important legacy. Here's a wonderful, wonderful poem. Read it for you. Sometimes people say, well, maybe this should only be for older people who die. I don't think so. I think even when people are younger and they leave behind parents, I think it's inappropriate. It's called The Messenger. Poet wrote, I am closer than ever before. As the morning sun rises and throughout the busy day, I am with you until the setting sun disappears on the horizon and we watch the day turn into night. I am here. You may feel a faint breeze stir around your head while you slumber as I gently kiss your forehead goodnight. The stars that shine so brightly in my heavenly sky help me watch over you and keep you from harm. I am the wind in the trees and the song of a bird. I am moonbeams in a midnight sky and a glorious rainbow after the storm. I am morning dew and freshly fallen snow. I'm a butterfly flying overhead and a puppy happily at play. I'm a smile on a stranger's face, a gentle touch, a warm embrace. Listen to the wind for my message of love. Watch the sun rise and set in the sky with me. Feel my essence encircle you with warm memories. Open your heart to know I am not gone. Reach deep into your soul. You will find me. I am here. Have no fear. I am with you always. I believe the poet understands the meaning of this moment because his memory, what he tried to do in those highest moments, will forever be with you as a family. And we pray that each of you, as you try to remember him, will continue to leave memories behind that are because of you. It is in that spirit then that we resolve to face our grief without self-pity, but with bravery and integrity, keeping before us forever the blessings that God conferred upon us in this life that he but lent to us for these decades too few. And in a world where our most precious goods are perishable, let us resolve to honor our beloved dead by being so good to the living, so kindly, so understanding, so forgiving, so transcendent of pettiness, that in our love for him we shall hearken to those who remain and who need us and our strength. May it be through new relationships and new service to humanity that we make good our loss, and in the beauty of our own lives erect the noblest monument to our mourned dead, and thus the beauty of his life shall ever abide among us all as a living and loving benediction. Adonai Natan v'Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach me'atav yad olam. God has given, God has taken away. Praise be the name of God, now and forevermore. And let us all sing together. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember him. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember him. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember him. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember him. In the blueness of the sky and in the heat of the summer, we will remember him. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember him. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember him. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember him. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we will remember him. When we have achievements based on his, we will remember him. So long as we live, he too shall live, for he now is a part of us, and we will remember him. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatzar etchem b'tzalmo v'zan chilkel etchem b'tovah, והעמיד אתכם בדין ונטע בתוככם חיי עולם ברוך. אתה אדוני, דיין האמת. We praise you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who forms us in the divine image, who nourishes and sustains us in your goodness, causing all of us to die and planting immortal life within us. We praise you, O God, the judge of truth. Tagibor leolam Adonai Rav leoshia mechalkel chaim bechesed mechayei hakol berachamim rabim. Eternal is your might, O God, all life is your gift. Great is your power to save. With love you sustain the living, with great compassion you give life to all. You send help to the falling and healing to the sick. You bring freedom to the captive and keep faith with those whose ashes with us. We praise you, O God, who implants eternal life within us. Bless our heart and into dust our shelter to. Thou art and into the cold earth our shelter. Spirit art thou, the Spirit of God, in which you soul. Those of you in the family who would like to place some dirt, if you'd please do that now, that would be very helpful, hopefully for you. Dust and ashes return to the earth. Spirit returns to God who gave it. It is only the house of the Spirit which has been laid in the bosom of the earth. The Spirit itself cannot die, for here too our dear ones continue in loving remembrance of those to whom they were precious. Receive in mercy, O God, the soul of David Howard Weiner. Grant him that everlasting peace which you have prepared for us in the world to come. Though no human eye has seen nor ear has heard, nor mind has compassed it, still it is our sure inheritance and our everlasting portion now and forevermore. So I would ask you now, dear family, to please rise, that we might recite together the words that have been hallowed by centuries of faith, the words that have been glorified in our tradition, the words of the Kaddish prayer. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayei chom v'yomei chom, v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agalah v'zman korib, v'yimaru amen, yehei shmei Rabbah miborach, le'olam u'le'olmei olmaya, yitvarach v'yishtabach, yitvar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, Yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal, Shmei dekusha b'richu, Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, Tu shmichata v'nechemata, V'amiran b'yalma, Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya Techayim Aleinu Bial Kol Yisrael Yemeru Amen. Ose Shalom B'Rama Uria Se Shalom Aleinu Bial Kol Yisrael. Those of you who are seated, if you would please rise as you are able for the traditional memorial prayer. El Malerachamim Shochein Bamromim Hamitzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShekhinah In Kedoshim Tahorim Kizohar Arakia Matzivim Et Nishmat David Ben Nachum Shalach L'Lamo Al HaRachamim Yasireu B'Seter Kinafad L'Olamim Vayitzroa B'Tzroa Chaim Nishmato Adonai Hu Nechalato Yanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkavo V'Nomar Amen. O God, full of compassion, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence. David Howard Weiner entered into eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings. Let his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be thou his possession, and make his repose. The whom we now remember has been called unto the peace of life eternal. So still live on earth in the acts of goodness he has made. The hearts of those who have beauty of his life abide among us all, living, loving benediction. May the source of peace send peace unto all you who mourn. May God comfort all the bereaved among us, Israel, all the nations and the families of earth. David lived, Shalach, God of life. Go your way, for God has called you. Lech Adonai yeh imach, go your way. May God be with you. Halach lefanecha tzidkecha kavod Adonai azvecha. May your righteousness go before you, and may the glory of God receive you. And let us all say together.
Folks, that concludes our service. Thank you.
So I want to know something. And your dad lost his too.
You need the number for Bosley.
The truth is, it's supposed to be on the mom's side.